And welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I've been playing some Mappy here on this 1/6 scale themed, or Mappy themed arcade machine. This is the Glenn's Retro Show GRS Build-a-Cade, and it's fantastic. It has the ability to allow me to play all these games that I want to play that New Wave Toys and others have been a little slow to release, and love it a lot. But what I'm really hoping to do is to actually get other games on here, games that are not easily replicatable because they have different control panels. And so that's actually what we've got in this box here. This is a combination of a spinner, like an actual twirling paddle controller, and also a thing called a battle pod, I think it is, which allows you to basically put this inside here and have it as a little extension controller. So I'm going to open this thing up and try it out. Okay, so let's open this up. Obviously, we've got two different items in here. I'm thinking the smaller one is the paddle, and the bigger one is the paddle pod, or battle pod, or gaming pod, whatever it's called. We'll know soon enough. Yeah, the nice thing with this is there's so many paddle games that I would love to be able to play. And I do have the New Wave Toys Tempest, which is not bad, but it's one of those, not an actual spinner, more like you can feel the clicks as it turns, like it's some kind of resistor thing. And it's just not what I was looking for. This, on the other hand, yes, this is a proper GRS spinner. There we go. The spinner control panel. And of course, the really big selling feature for me is it has a steering wheel. So we can wedge that on top and actually do driving games in addition. Now you can swap out the actual, you can pull this thing apart and you can put this thing in there. But the vast majority of games I do want to play are games that just use a joystick. So I thought I'm going to have this as a secondary controller, an accessory as it were. And that's what this is for. This is a housing that allows me to basically turn that thing into a little portable controller. And I think you can actually use it in other gaming devices too. I've seen a couple of videos online where people have said, yeah, it's actually usable now. I don't have things like the ROG Ally, but it will work because it's basically just a mouse that goes left and right. Here we go. This is the panel pod. That's the word I'm looking for. So what I will do then is this thing's going to go into here, and then I'll have a secondary, you can see there's the idea. It's like a little housing, a little controller holder that this is going to sit in, and then I'll always have that option available for Mappy and who knows what other machines I can maybe get that working for. So let's open these guys up, wire them together, and then plug them into Mappy and configure a few games. So let's start off with the spinner itself. I'm going to very carefully try and open this without wrecking the box, because I don't really want to. Okay, so what do we got in here? Should be this little controller, a wire, and a couple of bits. Wow, that is held in pretty tight. There we go. There is our steering wheel. That's going to get a lot of play. Looking forward to that. I've actually got things like Outrun and that working on Mappy, but without a steering wheel, kind of pointless. And we have a very small Allen key. I believe that is for the spinner itself. And I'm really looking forward to trying this out now. It does have, what do you call it? It has a sticker here, which I may or may not be applying. We'll see. We'll set that to the side for now. There's the controller itself. How do I get this out of here? Oh, okay. We'll push it from the back. There we go. And we have some wires to plug in to the panel pod in a minute. Yeah, so basically just two connectors. You can't possibly mess those up. Bit of a distance. The standard buttons there, and the spinner. I have never given a Glenn's Retro Show spinner a spin, and I want to try it out. Let's give it a whirl. Oh yeah. Oh, that is still, wow, that's still going. Okay. I don't know if you can make that out. Let's see if I can get the focus going here. Yeah, it spins very nicely. So that'll be good for things like Tempest and that. Very good. There is the spinner. Awesome stuff. And now the panel pod to make my life easier. And we even have some instructions. That's awesome. So here, okay, that's the back of it. Ooh, it's heavier than I thought. Wow, okay. So yes, I will properly read the manual, but I have watched a couple videos already. These side pieces are held on with magnets, and you can basically just disconnect. More on the magnets in a second, but you can disconnect that. You can, I guess you can take that side out as well. There we go. And we've got a USB cable as well as another couple of cables for these two things. And that will plug into the back of the Build-a-Cade. It's USB-C to USB-A. Very good. Okay, and the requisite silica gel. Kids, don't eat that. Okay, so let's assemble this guy. Okay, before assembling, I want to connect up the wires. So the first thing is a GPIO connector that goes into there. And it's worth noting, this one that comes with the controller, that's for inside the Mappy if you wanted to, or inside your Build-a-Cade if you want to actually make that all work internally. Since I'm going to use this as an external device, I'm going to leave that as is. So one end of the GPIO goes in here. Luckily, there's only one way this can go on. And we also have this connector here. Boom. And then the other end of that plugs in here. So this is going to be like that, and that's going to be like that. Excellent. So those two guys are going to talk to each other. And we just assemble. Okay, so we line this up. These are a little bit uncooperative. There we go. Oh, look at that. You can see that perfectly lines up there. Ideal. Wow. And then the whole housing goes around it like this. Okay, yeah, I guess that's it. And then I slide in this edge here. Secure with the magnets. They'll kind of, okay, I get it now. So this is all going to sort of hug the front and back together. Okay, that's that together. Boy, that was a little bit trickier than I thought. And I believe it's because I thought this lip, oh, you can make that out? There's a bit of a lip there. Yeah, I thought that was supposed to go underneath, so it wasn't fitting in properly. But now we've got it. Got our spinner, several buttons, and a D-pad. And I may or may not apply the sticker. We'll see about that later. What I want to do now, this is going to be the trickier part. Now that we've got this physically hooked, plugged in, I'll probably put some rubber feet underneath it in a later time. But now I gotta figure out how to get the Mappy to recognize this. So let's give that a whirl next. Easy part here, we just plug in the USB-C on this end and USB-A onto the back of Mappy. And then it gets a little trickier because unfortunately this controller doesn't actually get recognized. It doesn't do anything. There's a D-pad in here and a whole bunch of buttons, but you probably can't really make it out because I've got the brightness up a bit. There's no response from this. So what we got to do next is configure this guy to recognize that guy. So at the regular menu, I want to hit player 1. I want to go down to configure input. Are you sure you want to configure an input? Yes. A gamepad has been detected. Hold a button on your device to configure it. Let's go with this one. Hey, there we go. Now, D-pad up. I want that to be this one. D-pad down. I want that to be this one. D-pad left. I want that to be this one. I know you can't really see what I'm doing. I'm hitting the D-pad here. D-pad right. I want it to be that one. Start. I guess you still can't see what I'm doing here. Let me just adjust the brightness here. Okay, there you go. So now you can make it out, but you can barely see the controller at all. Start is going to be player 1, so I'm hitting the... You can't see. Hitting player 1. Select will be player 2. Button A, I'm going to have that... Let me just think. Let me just think here. If I'm doing a lot of games, which of these buttons do I want to be A? I guess that one. Yeah, okay, so let's go. A is the far left. B is the middle. X is the far right. Okay. And then OK. You didn't choose a hotkey enable button that's required for exiting games with the controller. Do you want to use the select button default? So let's go back out of here. So now let me just back this stuff up, brighten it up a bit. So that's, I think, so in theory, I can still go with my joystick here. That still works and everything's fine there. In theory, can I do that with this too? Ooh, I can. Okay, excellent. So it is now recognized. Let's try a spinner game, but I know darn well it ain't gonna work. If I go there, something real easy. Let's go with avalanche. There is avalanche. God, wouldn't it be nice if it just sees this spinner? All right, let's throw in a coin. Oh, okay, that put in a coin. All right. Player 1. Ooh. Oh, wow, it does work. It works right away. Look at that. Whoa. That's impressive. Now, the sound is really, really low. Don't worry about that. I'm just making sure. Yeah, we have a winner. A winner chicken dinner. This is cool. Now, obviously, I need to configure a bunch of stuff. So how did I want to get out? Okay, interesting. So I can mess around with these to set them up for exiting, but I don't really need to right now because I'll always have this control here. These are extras. Okay, give me a little bit. I'm going to try and configure a few of these. I'm going to mess with this thing a bit and even put on the steering wheel and try some stuff, but I will be back. Okay, just had a dabble around to configure the buttons the way I'd like. There's still plenty of area for me to do more configuring, but just to give it a whirl, so I've got it set so that the D-pad goes obviously up and down my list here, and if I wanted to choose the first game, that's the launcher there. So let's have a go of Arkanoid here. I've got this map to put in a coin, and this map to play player 1. And A is my only main button. And we'll just give this a whirl here. It feels pretty good. Again, I need to configure the speed or the sensitivity because it's just on the default a little too slow for me to get to the other side of the screen there. But, you know, for an initial kick of the can. Whoa, okay, well, in fact, why don't I, let's finish this game here, and I'll just increase that sensitivity, because it can be done. Oh, there we go. I got multiple, and I lost them all. That was pretty terrible. Okay, when I first talked about Mappy, I said you had to plug in a USB keyboard. Turns out, no. I have since discovered that if you just press the down on the joystick and button number 2, you can also get to that same menu before. Now let's go to analog controls and we can increase the sensitivity. And this is per game because I was trying to figure out, does this mean all of the games I'm going to bump up the sensitivity or not? Let's put that up to about 50 and see what that's like. And let's try the same thing again now. Oh yeah, could actually do with a little hair more to be honest, but I'm already feeling... Let's go for lasers here. Oh, of course I don't get to use them. Still, this is pretty decently working now. And as I say, I could probably bump up the sensitivity on that one to a higher level. But at least it works. I'm so impressed that it works right out of the gate. Like I didn't have to like have it recognize or anything. So there's Arkanoid. If I press these two buttons, it takes me back to the previous menu. Let's go down to QDQ because I did a video about that. Launch it with that. And for this one, let me just also check the sensitivity of that game. Analog controls. Yeah, let's bump that up to about 50% as well. And launch. Yeah, could do with a little bit more even, but just to show how well this thing works. No jitter. Now there is a kind of jitter to do with those magnets, but I'll talk about those later. Certainly it's got, whoa! You know what, I'm gonna, while I'm at it, while I'm here, let's just go. Okay, launch the ball. Still needs a little, I mean, I guess I could do it this way. It is a paddle after all. That slight jitter is actually my fingers doing that, not the game, not the controller. Really cool game. I really like this one. And I like the fact that I can play it without any trouble, because it is a very, very definitive paddle game. I've done it with the PlayStation 1 using a Nijicon controller, and that was okay, but this is already better. And this is me using, I'm trying to play and also trying to record through the viewfinder. So already, I can tell I'm doing a better job here. Okay. Now, let's get out of that one. There's a classic Star Trek from Sega. Let's put in a coin and give that a whirl. Now, you won't really be able to see it terribly clearly, but oops. Yeah, that's it's working. Got all the controls configured. Oh, no, don't shoot the space station, Kev. Shoot the Klingons. That's what you want to go for. This does work. Let me just move along. Shoot you guys. Fire a torpedo. Behind me. Uh-oh. I gotta go to the space station. Give me the space station. Did the space station get destroyed? I think it did. Oh no, and I'm dead. Okay. Well, there is Star Trek. That totally works. And we'll just finish this section off with Tempest. I believe I've already increased the sensitivity on this one. Yeah. So this is working great, and this is so much better than the New Wave Toys one. Sorry, New Wave Toys. You do some really nice work, don't get me wrong. But that potentiometer version of the rotation of the paddle, no darn good. That is just not going to work for me. Now, everybody who's played actual Tempest in the actual arcade knows when you finish a level, it's traditional to spin. And as you can see, it's still spinning. Like, that's a really cool thing. Let's get the zapper. Yeah, the controller definitely does correct movement for... Yeah, now give it a spin, and as you can see, it's still spinning around. Like, that is proper Tempest control. That's something you can't do with the New Wave Toys or Arcade 1-Up or any other home versions of Tempest, really. And that's the proper way to play. So, it's a very good paddle. It's a very good machine. Has a couple of limitations I will get into later. But for now, let me just see if I can get this. Yeah. I also need to configure the darn thing for a few more games, so I'm going to do a little bit more of a follow-up. But so far, now that I've got this thing working, and I've got certain games configured for the for what the controller can do, I'm pretty happy. Okay, so now I've set up a bunch of different games with this controller in a way that works for me. Pardon the bizarre camera angles here, but basically it was the only way for me to show the one-to-one as I move the spinner what happens on screen. So it's at a 90-degree tilt. I apologize for that, but it's the only way I could get everything to show up here. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, well, we'll start off with Arkanoid. A lot of these games do work a lot better now, though some of them not 100%. Let's throw a quarter into Arkanoid and give it a start here. Just the one button. So yeah, this is a little bit harder. Not harder, but it's not the one-to-one that I thought. Now I went into MAME and I adjusted speed of analog controls along with the sensitivity just to try and get it dialed in, and in some games it's really, really good. Arkanoid is not bad. It's getting there. Let me see if I can get the lasers. Nope, didn't do that in time. There are other games that play really well. I'm very, very happy. And, you know, certainly compared to using a joystick for this, there we go. So now I can also shoot using the button. So you can see there is the dual control going on here. Whoa, I don't have my lasers anymore. Yeah, so Arkanoid plays really, really well. I'm going to bring up another one that's not quite so good. Here is Bomb B, which I had done a video about, and this is a lot better now, but not 100%. Let's put in a quarter and try a game out here. As I say, I had to get this dialed in as best I could, and it's just not quite there. Like, it doesn't exactly grab all the different pieces the way I need it to do. Now, it's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy, but like, in order to, when the ball really starts kicking in, I don't have enough time to get the paddle over to where it is on the screen. You know, there we go, case in point. Like, when you're used to original arcade hardware, when you want it to do what it does in the arcade, it's not 100% there. It's not bad. Very, you know, as I say, it definitely beats trying to do this with a joystick, but when this game really starts getting going, I'm lucky if I can manage to keep on top of the movement of the ball. So, let's, oh, game over. Let's also do Bomb B's cousin. That being Cutie Q, so let's throw a quarter in. And give this one a whirl. This one I found a little better. So it's not the fault of the paddle, it's the fault of, I think, whatever speed the game ROM is going at. Or, you know, maybe, well, of course, I lose that one. But, you know, I was able to have pretty lengthy games of this, and I thought, all right, so it's not, and this is with the same levels, the same numbers in MAME. But you can see how, like, I'll move my fingers, and then there's like a little delay before the paddle will move, or before the paddle will move across the screen. It's very doable, absolutely doable. In fact, I would say better than when I tried to play this using the Nijicon controller on the PS1. Darn it. Okay, well, that's Cutie Q. Again, not 100%. Now, I also want to talk about those magnets that I talked about before. So this is Avalanche, kind of the precursor to Kaboom on the Atari 2600. I've played this before in the arcade version. I'm going to fire up a thing. This actually does play really well. I have a much better feeling of control with this one. So this is an example that shows, no, the spinner is not a problem. In fact, it's very, very good. I've gotten very far playing this. Well, of course, now that I've got the camera for recording. Yeah, just as far as I got playing this on Vol, my main machine. Like, this is a very good controller for this purpose. And there's that loud hiss to make me get scared, but I'm managing. And as you can see, I can get across the screen just A-OK, no problems at all. Let's get to the scary part. Hang on. Okay. Okay. Well, there we go. But I will show you what I mean about the magnets. So somebody was getting rid of their GRS Build-a-Cade with a Star Trek theme. Paddle already built in and stuff. And the guy said, the nice thing about this cabinet already being pre-built is the fact that you won't suffer that magnet problem. And I was like, wait a minute, what magnet problem? And then when I fired up Avalanche here, I discovered what the magnet problem is. The spinner itself, I guess, works on some kind of magnetic system to have the spin be registered. And so whenever you spin this thing in an actual arcade GRS Build-a-Cade cabinet, no problems at all, because it's all suspended in the plastic housing. Since this thing has magnets on the side here holding these parts of the cabinet together, I now know what that seller was talking about, because this thing, when it spins, it actually wants to recenter. In fact, you can see it there. Like, look at the little... You can see there how that, where the screw hole is, it's actually bobbing back and forth. Let me put in a quarter and fire up a game, and I'll show you what I mean. If I spin this, and then I let go, you see how it wants to like wiggle back and forth until it centers? That's what the magnet problem is. I was like, oh no, is that going to be an issue? Am I not going to be able to play games because this thing wants to pull? The magnets inside the panel pod, are they pulling at this thing in a way that's going to make it impossible for me to play? No, just keep your fingers on the controller. Like, that's really all you got to do. If you let go of it, it is going to do that wiggle thing, but that's fine. That's not a big deal. So anybody concerned about, well, what happens if I get a panel pod for the paddle controller? Am I now going to have these magnets playing haywire with my gameplay? No, you're not. It is going to wiggle, but just keep your fingers on the dial, and you got no problems at all. So that's something you don't really need to worry about now. And the other nice thing is I can actually play some of the hidden gems of yesteryear in a way that is originally designed. Like what we're playing here, you're thinking to yourself, oh, he's just playing Tempest. No, this is Tempest tubes. You'll notice the shape of the mazes in this game, completely different to what you're used to on regular old Tempest. I played this back in the day. I think this was either was this a hardware ROM hack thing, expansion unit that they would give arcades? I don't recall the story of Tempest Tubes. But I can now play Tempest Tubes with this controller because it works really, really well. Notice on the top of the Superman symbol here, I got to go round the long way. Whole new level of challenge here. This is really, really good. I am loving what the Build-a-Cade spinner controller allows me to try. And I'm just so happy with this bit of hardware. They've really done a good job here. It's not perfect. It's got very, very slight issues. There's that sort of wiggle trouble that I've mentioned already. I've also found that, it is really tricky with stuff like Spy Hunter to get dialed in such a way that I can manage to get the controls in a way that's workable for me. But let's avoid those spikes. I don't want to hit them spikes. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Tempest Tubes. Who remembers this one? This is a really incredible game. I really, really like what this controller can do. I like the fact that I can now do all the paddle games better. It's not perfect. There are some Bombi and QDQ. I'm really finding I have to dial in those numbers a bit better than before. But it certainly beats the alternative. And with any Tempest game, you get that factor. You can spin this thing around any direction. It's fantastic. Ooh, and this is a really hard level to see as well. Probably worse for you because you're so far away. But for me, this is dicey as heck. Oh, I'm going to die. Overall, what's my opinion of the Build-a-Cade spinner and the panel pod? Because I'm very, very happy with them. First of all, the magnet thing is a little bit of a factor, but honestly, it works for me. Being able to map to some of this D-pad here, that'll work perfectly. I didn't even bother setting these up in Retro Core, Retro Arch, whatever the game comes with. But I could have actually assigned those as button presses as well. And then if I really wanted to, for games like Sprint and Spy Hunter and all that, I could use these as well. Now, I think it's worth noting that in the packaging for the panel pod, you do have rubber feet that will keep this thing from sliding around on a surface like a desktop. I'm not really going to be using this on the surface of a desktop. I'm going to be holding this like a controller and playing on my GRS Build-a-Cade. So I don't really need the rubber feet. I'm also, as mentioned, not going to use this steering wheel thing because I just find that I don't know if I really want to be popping this on and off and on and off. If I go from a Tempest game to like Outrun or what have you, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. If there was a slightly larger knob, because I'm going to be holding this like this, and occasionally, doing all my games this style here, if there was a slightly bigger one, maybe somebody's got a 3D printed solution or something like that, I wouldn't mind a very slightly larger control spinner here, because this, I think, would benefit me and my gameplay or game style. But, I mean, a great little controller, you need to really sit there and dial in sensitivity and speed in MAME in order to get the spin to work right. After all my attempts, I still didn't manage to get QDQ or Bomb B 100%, but Breakout is great. I got Avalanche working great. Star Trek works great. A lot of the games, Super Breakout, a lot of the games are now playable. And the racing games. We got Speed Freak, we got Spy Hunter if I can get all the buttons all sorted out. Sprint, all of those games are playable, and I really, really like that. So I think overall I'm pretty happy. And also, just to speak briefly about a weird thing, the control cable, like the actual USB cable that you use to plug this thing in with, this in and of itself is a very high quality, thick cable. It seems silly to get excited about the cable itself, but that's one indication of just the level of quality that Glenn is going for, and Thunderstick Studios, because they're the ones who distribute these things. They're really making sure that what you're getting is a high quality piece of product, and I'm very, very pleased. For the price tag as well, I think I got the spinner on sale for, I want to say $20, and the panel pod was 30, or the spinner was 30 and the panel pod was 20, I can't recall, but it comes with this. It comes with a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm very, very pleased. So I'm really, really liking this spinner. I need to, as I say, get a few more games running the way I think they would work best for me, but really, really thrilled, and I highly recommend get the spinner controller if you can. I'm probably going to start showing a few more games through this, because the nice thing is the Build-a-Cade also has the ability to do HDMI out, so I'm actually going to be able to hook this up to my capture card and show a few games, and I'll be able to do either with the joystick or with the panel here, the spinner, and a couple of other controllers that I have kicking around. I'm actually going to be able to show off other games in the format in which they were originally intended. Having now messed with things like QDQ and Bomb B, using the Nijicon on the PlayStation 1 and finding that was hard enough, now I have a better solution. So, super thrilled. I'm going to leave it there. This is quite a lengthy review of the spinner and panel pod for the GRS Build-a-Cade, but I'm very, very pleased. I highly recommend it. And yeah, more gaming, especially paddle gaming and driving gaming, is headed my way in the near future. Until then, I'm going to say goodbye for now, so until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.